All right, you guys, welcome back to the Low Bottom High Rise podcast with me, your host, Moira Casaba. And you are in for a treat tonight. Today, whenever you're listening, we have Cayla Craft on the pod today. Welcome, Cayla. Thanks so much for being here.
I am so excited to be here. You have the best energy. So I'm so excited to talk to your people.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited. I mean, we were just chatting right before, and I have 1,000 questions. We have so much in common. You actually popped up on my Instagram the other day. My phone was just lying on the counter and I thought it was me. So that was weird. I was like, whoa. And so many people have said, like, how do you guys not know each other to me? So I'm just so excited to get to know you. So can we
Thank you.
start here? I always ask this question, and I used to kind of like do the drum roll of like all the titles, all the big things, because you have all of the big things and you have accomplished so much and you're just all over the media and you've done so much with your life. But how would you define Cayla Craft? Who is Cayla Craft in your words?
I would say a child of God, first and
Mm,
foremost.
yes.
And I mean, I think like from that, everything else flows, like that really is the definition of who I am.
Yeah, I love that. And that's why you are my people, because I feel the same. It's like that's the foundation of it all. And so can you take us back, because I am so inspired and I feel like myself, but an audience and everyone, we learn through story, right? We
Yeah.
learn through kind of this was the journey. So take us back. You were an ER nurse. You went into network marketing, you built some wealth, you pivoted and pivoted and pivoted, and you've just written a book, which we're going to get to that at some point because I want everybody to get it. But take us back to kind of that time in your life. You're an ER nurse. You were
Yeah.
probably looking for more burnout. I get that. What did that look like?
I was 23 years old and I had a 1 year old at home. And I loved working as a nurse. I got a lot of fulfillment from that. But at the same time, I was very stressed out all the time because I am the type of person, I'm a finisher. So I need to know what happens to people. And being an ER nurse, I never would know what would happen. They would leave the
Right.
ER and I'd be like, okay, did they get better? They went home or like, did
Mhm.
they get better? And I
Mhm.
always was stressed out for people. And
Mm,
so I was unhappy in that way,
yeah.
but I didn't know that there was something more for me as an entrepreneur. I started working as a nursing instructor and I started like taking per diem like shifts doing different types of nursing just to try it out. And I remember this one time I was in a home health position. So it was
Mhm.
kind of one where you could work from home and stuff like that. And my girlfriend texted me and she was like, um, telling me her sister had just made $9,000 selling protein shakes. And I was like, what? Like,
You're like, what in the world?
how did she do that? I said, we need to go on a play date tomorrow. Let's take our kids to the park and I need to know about this.
Yeah.
So we went to the park and she brought me like a sample. And like at that time, I really didn't even know how to drink a protein shake. So I had a cup of water and she gave me like a protein shake in a Ziploc bag and I was like mixing it with my finger. Okay. And
I love it.
I was like choking it down. I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is what she sells. And she made $9,000. Okay. I can do that. Like, sign me up.
I love your just like enthusiasm though. You're
Oh,
just
yeah.
like in it right out of the gate. I love
Oh,
that.
I was like choking it down. It was like most disgusting thing I ever had. And I was like, but okay, but like if I sell
I'm
this, I'm gonna
in.
make money. Okay. And then I learned to blend a shake and it all was
Yes.
delicious and it was easy to sell for me. So that's really how it started, was just somebody else gave me hope that
Yeah.
there was something different for me. And I think
Mhm.
that's really important for anybody listening in, no matter what industry you're in, we're selling hope. And like,
Yes.
that's the opportunity that we give people every single
Mhm.
day. And so that's what my friend gave me at the park that day. And it was an absolute whirlwind. 3 years later, I had become a lifetime millionaire in that company and then eventually became a millionaire. But by the time I was 26, I looked around and said, okay, we had bought the dream home. I had
Yeah.
3 kids now.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I am not happy. Like, I'm honestly not happy. And I thought,
Isn't that
getting
a
out of
crazy
nursing.
place to be?
Right.
Like when
Yeah.
you've got all that, you can check all the boxes on what everyone thinks they want at one point in their life. And
Yes.
here you are so young checking all the boxes,
Yep.
but inside you're not happy. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not fulfilled.
Like, what is going on?
And you
Because
think that was because of the work you were doing at that point? Would you say that?
well, no, I don't think so. Because even then, remember, like even in nursing, I was checking all the boxes and doing things that most
Yeah.
people at my age weren't doing as a nurse. And I wasn't happy. So I knew
Yeah.
at that point, I'm like, okay, it's not a career thing.
Mm,
It's a me thing.
mm,
So I hired my first ever coach at that point. And this is a pivotal moment because most people will go, well, I'm not happy, but maybe things will eventually change. That's not how it works. Like nothing
right.
changes if nothing changes.
Yeah.
And so the best thing to do is to get outside help at that
Mhm.
point because they can be a mirror for you when
Yes.
all you can do is look, you just have your perspective and you
Right.
need help. You need a new perspective on your life.
Mhm.
So I hired a business coach and it was funny because he only worked with real estate coaches at the time.
So
And I
business
begged him.
coach, not life coach or therapist.
No, yeah, he was a
Yeah.
business coach because I thought, oh, I just need more money. Like,
Right.
chill, like, really,
Yes.
that
I
money
can
will
relate.
fix everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wrong. But anyway, I hired him and I thought he was going to be giving me strategy on my business. And he gave me strategy on my life and like
Mm.
actually how I was being. He said, Cayla, you're like a bulldozer. And wouldn't you like to be a Ferrari? How do you answer that? Of course, I'd rather be a Ferrari. I don't want
Yeah.
to be a bulldozer. And so I was like, huh, okay. So I worked on myself. I did a lot of inner child work
Yeah.
and I started to ask myself questions that were really extremely powerful that I was scared to know the answer to.
Mm.
But I just really
Like
started
what?
like,
Can I pause right there? Like, give me some of those
yeah,
questions.
okay. See, you're a good interviewer. So Uh, one of the biggest things at that time was my marriage.
Mm.
We were having a lot of issues because he didn't marry this like network marketing
Yeah.
millionaire. He married a girl that was in nursing school.
Yeah.
And so it affected our relationship, right? And are you there? Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
I'm here. I'm here. I can see you, hear you.
Okay. It
Yeah.
froze for me for
We're
some
good.
reason. Okay. So, anyways, it really affected my marriage. And I was really contemplating divorce at the time because remember, it's everybody's fault but mine. I'm still like
Right.
in that point in my life where I'm not happy, but it's everything else outside of me.
Right.
It's out of
And
my control.
it's hard to see that when you're succeeding as much as you are as well.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm always working with a coach
Yeah.
because they help you stay on track.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So here we are. You're really successful. It's
Mhm.
everybody outside of yourself. Issues are coming up in your marriage.
Mm.
You're thinking about leaving. You hire a coach.
Yes. Yes. So the coach asked me, he said, what's the worst case scenario if you were to get a divorce? And I was like, well, then I would get my kids 50% of the time. And that's a worst case scenario for me.
Mhm.
Like I can't be away from my kids 50% of the time. And he was like, but would you die? And I was like, well, no. I mean, I would learn to live, I guess. Like, my mind had to like find people I knew that were, divorced and were doing okay. And so
Yeah.
I looked
Yeah.
at it and I was like, okay, I mean, you know, my kids would end up being okay and I would be okay. So that was a really hard question to answer. And
Yeah.
like the answer was I would be okay if I got a divorce. But I didn't want a divorce like at all
Right.
whatsoever. I wanted to figure out a way to make it work. And the way like what ended up happening was I wasn't scared of the divorce anymore and I wasn't staying married because I didn't want to get a divorce. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just chose like, okay, I'm actually going to do the work on myself and learn how to be a wife
Mm.
and step into like trusting him and letting him take care of me and really studying what God says about marriage and just about all of this stuff. And so I ended up like in all of this. It didn't happen overnight. Like
Yeah.
it took years of like really trying and like making it work. And now I feel like we're happier than ever. But it was like a really hard time because I had to realize all of my daddy issues. I had so many daddy
Yeah.
issues because I was raised by a single mom with my dad in jail most of my life. And so,
Wow.
of course, my go to is I push people away before they can leave
Yeah.
me. Right.
And you don't need anybody to take care of you. You just do it all
Yeah,
yourself. Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Which
Yeah.
is like unhealthy because men love to provide
Right.
not only just like financially, but they like to provide emotionally too,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like being that support system and that safety net for us. And so I had to just be able to trust my husband, which is so crazy because it's like, well, didn't you like marry him and trust him? And I
Right.
realized like I
And there was
never,
no reason not to trust him. Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Gosh.
none at all. It was more just like I had all of these stories around who men were,
Right.
and I had to reparent, that inner child. And I talk about that in the book a lot
Yeah.
because then I became a good wife. Like I
Yeah.
did, I became a good wife. And then still had the story of I'm not a good wife, and,
Mhm.
and I don't deserve Chase and all of
Yeah.
this stuff because I'm not like a typical housewife.
Right.
I'm not the type that cooks and cleans and does all that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's why I love coaching because they ask you these powerful questions
Yeah.
and you have to face it. Your mind loves to have the answer to questions. And
Mhm.
so when you get with a coach that's really good at asking questions, you can get more powerful results in your life.
Yes.
And that's really the premise of my new book. What do you really want?
Yes.
Because most people will ask themselves that like question and they don't know how to answer it.
Right.
You've probably asked people that question
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, I don't know.
Mhm.
But you know what people do know? They know what they don't want.
Yes,
They
I
know
talk
what
about
they
this all the time.
yes.
I'm like, "Tell me what you don't want,
Yep.
and I can tell you what you do want." It's really simple. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? So that's actually step 1 in my Take 7 coaching method is like, you gotta list out what's no longer working for you in your
Mhm.
life. But what you have to understand is when you state that something's not working for you in your life, you've got to be willing to do something about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will go, it's not working for me that I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And then they go into, and I'm, like this happened to me this weekend. I was in Denver live coaching, and the girl goes, I'm barely making it. I'm living out of a car, and I just don't have time to do anything different. And I
Mm.
said, do you realize that's a choice? And she was like taken aback. I go, do you realize that it's a choice that you are too busy to make
Yeah.
changes in your life? And it was simple yes or no. And she's like, yes. Okay. And if you could, like, if somebody else was in your shoes right now, you know,
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
had to coach them out of that, what would you tell them to do?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, it's like she had the answers of
Yeah.
exactly what she needed to do to get out of her situation to start getting newer results. But first, you've got to understand that we are
Yeah.
empowered to choose something different at
Right.
any given moment. You know this. I'm sure you teach this to people all the time
Yeah.
that you're either the victim or you're the victor.
Mhm.
And I mean, you get like to where you've gotten in life with the level of success you've had, you look at life victoriously,
Right.
it's not that you don't have problems. You have
Right.
problems, but you face them like a victorious person
Yes.
faces it. You go, okay, a problem is an opportunity for
Yep.
me to solve, to get creative,
Yep.
to find solutions. And it's every business. And I just think the more money I make, the more complex my life gets.
Yeah.
And I have to look at the problems that arise as opportunities because otherwise I'd
Mhm.
lose my mind. I'd lose my
Right.
mind.
Yes. Totally, totally, totally. Oh my gosh. I get this on every level and teach it but still, we still struggle with things, right? But you're absolutely right that people that have succeeded like you and I and all the other people in the world that have, hit that higher level of success, it's like we literally have a different brain and we didn't always, right? And so it's not like we were born with this perspective or this skill set to kind of use our mind this way, but we've learned the skill set to process things differently, to take
Yes.
responsibility, because what you're saying is taking responsibility. I was just talking to a girlfriend of mine today who is actually a coaching client of mine as well, so I was like trying to straddle the fence between like friend and coach. But I was saying, like, do you realize that, this part in this? And she was like, yes. And I was like, no, 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 I'm not saying his part in this. I'm saying your part in this. And she was like, oh, yes. And when you have that outside perspective, it's
Mm,
just like you can see it so clearly, just like you're saying, get the outside help. But for whoever's listening, it's always about taking responsibility, That's
Mm,
where your power is.
yeah.
That's where all your strength lies. And then being able to see it, like you said, through the lens of this is just going to be a notch in my belt of overcoming, of of figuring it out, of being gritty, of just turning it over, surrendering, whatever we got to do in that moment. It's a win no matter what. It's a win no matter what.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like, people don't realize that even failing is winning because
Yes.
I've learned so much from my failures in
Yes.
business, in my personal relationships, way more than if I just were to win at absolutely everything,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Uh, they really like failures set you up for the massive success. I
Mhm.
was at a Bible study earlier today and they were talking about how when King David was anointed by God to become king, he ran to hide in a cave from King Saul. And he was legit hiding in a cave, like scared. It was his waiting room, like for the rest of his destiny. And like, can you imagine being like having that much potential in your life and just being like in a cave waiting for your
Wow.
moment?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it and it's like, okay, like in that cave is when you're developed. Like when
Yes.
you're in your hardships, that's when character is developed. That's when you're strengthened. That's when
Mhm.
fortitude happens.
Yes.
And and then he went out and like became the king that we know him as, right? And
Mhm.
so I think that all of the junk, I've had lots of different caves in my life
Yeah.
that like got me prepared for like that next season of growth.
Yeah.
And I just have to say this to somebody listening in right now. It's your waiting room or your, difficult season that you might be going through right now. You can't bypass that to get to the
Right.
win. You've got
Right.
to go through it because it's who you become in the process
Yes.
that makes you more valuable in the next season you're going through.
Yes.
And I think we don't talk about the hard stuff enough. It's like we
I
talk
know.
about how amazing it is and the right mindset and da 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 da. But it's like we don't talk about how legit, like there are wall kicking moments. I've wanted to quit so many times, but
Yeah.
thankfully I had people in my life that are like, come on, let's
Yeah.
go, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's when you're talking, I'm thinking yes, because I talk so much about like it's who we become. It's who
Yep.
we become on all the days that we're crying and like just like falling apart. I can't do this anymore. It's who we become and it's what we learn. The business I
Yes.
had right before my network marketing business, whew, it was a doozy. And it was like 3 years of just every single moment of every single day of my entire life. And I walked away from it. And I remember my mom saying to me one time, like, well, I guess that was a waste of time. And I was like, and I didn't even understand what she was saying because what I knew was the success that I was currently achieving
Yeah.
would never, ever have been possible had it not been for the perspective that I came in with because of the failure, right?
Yeah.
And the skill set, the things that I learned. If that opportunity had presented itself 5 years prior, before the big dip of so-called failure,
Yeah.
it never, the rise never would have happened, right?
Yep.
So it's like, and I think the more you try, right? Because you just fall down, get back up, fall down, get back up, fall down, get back up. And the more you do that, the more you prove to yourself, oh, like I can do this. Failure is the path away. And so then when failure comes again, it's not as scary. It's not as dark.
Yes. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree
Mm.
totally.
So let's talk about this. So here you are, like crushing it as in network marketing, having obviously you're hiring outside help because you're crushing it, but there's an unhappiness. There's just a kind of an emptiness there. So where's the pivot now?
Well, so I still loved doing health coaching.
Yeah.
And so I just said, well, I want to, I had a ton of leaders on my team. And so I, was feeding them and like making them all happy. But then I was like, I want to really build out a health coaching brand.
Mm,
And this was before you could even do live video on Facebook.
yeah.
So, it's like, you had to be like a really good food picture, like taker, whatever you call
Yeah.
it, food photographer. There we go, Cayla. Okay. It's the end of the day. So, anyways, I was like, oh, I'm going to make a little recipe book. And I had a like Monday morning show on the local TV show. I went on every Monday
Oh,
with 2 new
fun.
recipes. And totally built out this whole health coaching brand. And I blew up. I mean, my first, then there was live video, and my first viral video was how to make bone broth. And I really went all in on this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I loved it. But people would always ask me, like, Cayla, how can I do that for my business? I
Right.
want to blow up, you know? And so I was like, gosh, I really like teaching marketing. I
Mm,
love it. I love the whole concept of everything.
yeah.
So I started to teach it to some local businesses, and they were having success. And I was like, that's really what I want to do, is empower any type of industry
Right.
to be successful online. And so that's when I decided to create Mommy Millionaire. And I wanted to, just interview successful people all over the world. And all of my coaching programs really were around marketing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I then really just went hardcore into the marketing world, and it's been a wild ride, and I still love teaching marketing,
Yeah.
but, there's been a whole evolution, because even during this time, I'm like, gosh, like I still love it, but I love real estate and I want to teach real estate,
Yeah.
investing and stuff like that. And so I've added that in. That's like one
Yeah.
branch of like the Cayla Craft brand. So I still have Mommy Millionaire, but then we have like Crafted Deals, which is a real estate coaching program that I'm, passionate about as well. And I think that's one thing that if anybody can learn anything from me, it's just like you don't have to fit in a box.
Right. 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 Right.
Like if
Yeah.
there's something that you're passionate about, I say get good at that one thing.
Right.
Like get a system down, get it cash flowing. Like we have a good funnel for Mommy Millionaire. Like I know what I'm going to make from that business.
Yeah.
And it was a really great time to go, okay, I'm going to add on something else that I could do that
Right.
I'm passionate, that I can get excited about. And
Mhm.
we're still trying to figure out the funnel for my crafted program. But, it's interesting. It's a challenge. Like I like
Yeah.
seeing what else we can create and how many
Yeah.
more people we can help in new ways. And I didn't go to like somebody and say, hey, can I pivot? Can I add this onto my
Yes.
brand?
Right.
No, like the only person I went and consulted wasn't a person, it was God. And
Right.
I
It's in your
really felt
heart.
strongly about like doing that. And a lot of people are waiting on the sidelines for somebody to
Yes.
come up to them and say, it's your time. Let's go. And you're going to be waiting forever, because
Yeah.
people are so worried about their own lives. They're
Right.
not focused on like giving you permission. So if
Right.
you're passionate about doing something, you got to go out and do it. And that's the premise of this book too. When you heal, when you really heal and you start to understand that like God has such a divine purpose for you and
Mhm.
you alone, like he can't give it to somebody else, it's for you,
Yeah.
then you start to move differently, because you're like,
Yeah.
okay, if I have this dream or this desire in my heart,
Mhm.
I've got to do this. Like I feel
Yeah.
that conviction to like make
Yes.
it happen.
Yeah. And I love that so much. And I think what some people think is that they're looking for like that God purpose in their life, like what was I put
Mm,
on this earth for? And I think the thing that you and I have realized is because we just go after it, right?
yeah.
Is that it's not just it might be under the same umbrella, but most likely it's going to, like you said, there's an evolution. It's going to evolve into this, and then a year later it evolves into this, and it only evolves because you keep taking action, right? It's like you feel this desire to do a podcast and you take action and you do that. And then by taking the action, only then I believe that God leads you to that next vision of the next
Mhm.
thing. And then you take that action and you build that out and you start to pursue that and you start to fulfill that purpose. And then and
Yes.
only then is the next vision revealed. And I
Mhm.
think people just think they have like the rest of their lives to kind of do this passion, this one purpose. And I'm like, you got to take action now. Like,
Yeah.
there's such a beautiful road and it's going to be full of beautiful twists and turns. And I mean, I'm sure you could agree that you could never have imagined you'd be doing real estate when you were taking pictures of food, right?
Right? Never, never. I know it's so crazy. And like I had it explained to me one time like this, like if God gave you the whole vision, like if he
Mhm.
told you every step you were going to have to take right now to get to that dream life in 10 years, none of us would sign up for it.
Right,
Like honestly,
right.
if I think about that back, like
Yes.
all of the betrayal, all of the crazy crap I've had to go through the last 13 years, at 23 years old, if I would have seen the long list of
Yes.
stuff I was going to have to go through, I would have just stayed an ER nurse. Like, I'm
Right.
telling you that.
Yeah.
Like, I would not have had the fortitude yet to
Right.
push through and say, yes, I'm going to do all these things. And so that's why it's a gift to us that he doesn't reveal every single step for us right
Yes.
now, because we would sabotage. We would
Right.
sabotage it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's only the us, 10 steps ahead that can
Yes.
pursue that 10th step.
Yep.
It's not that younger version of ourselves. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, that is such a good visual. Let's go back, and if you don't mind, I'm curious, like, because I know that you are open about talking about, women making money and building wealth and investing in all of this. Where was this pivot? Like, did you walk away from network marketing at some point? And when were you able to really like fill that income gap?
Mhm.
If you actually did walk away from it. I don't know if you did totally walk away from it, or did it just
Yeah.
kind of go away over time?
No, yeah. I absolutely walked away from a huge income. And because I got mad. That's really, I mean, boil it down. Wasn't a smart move. I recommend people don't do that.
Right.
But I decided when I created Mommy Millionaire, I was like, I'm going to make it a 7-figure brand in its first year. And so I did.
Yeah.
So I replaced my income pretty quickly. And I
Wow.
was happy with that because I didn't want, like, the company was trying to put me in a box. They didn't like that I was even doing my TV show, which is so crazy because all it did was build my team out more.
Right.
It's wild.
Right.
Like, I didn't have anything else to
But
sell.
scarcity mindset,
It was such scarcity
competition, all of
mindset.
that.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like, and it was like
Ugh.
leaders in on other cross lines, they were mad. Like, it was like they
Yeah.
couldn't handle I was getting a lot of attention. It was so mind-boggling. It still is to this day.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I knew that there was an expiration date on that
Mhm.
whole entire thing. I was like, this isn't going to last forever. My rose colored glasses had faded away and I saw reality for what it was. And I was like, yeah, these people actually don't care about me and I
Right.
need to go all in on my family. And so we had already been investing a lot of our money,
Yeah.
and like in real estate, we're investing in oil, in startups. We had really thank God my husband at this time was like very much into that. I
Yeah.
hadn't learned enough yet. And so anyways, he was really good at putting money away. Okay. So then when I started Mommy Millionaire, the whole goal was everything from our network marketing business. Like when we got paid weekly, we're investing it. So we just continued to we learned to live on the Mommy Millionaire income.
Yeah.
And then all of everything from network marketing, we were investing it. So if
Love
it
that.
wasn't as much, because it started to dwindle just company wide. It wasn't like it was
Yeah.
my team because I mean, even when I decided to walk away, I was like number 30 in the
Wow.
company. And I still had, lots of leaders making a lot of money on my team and stuff like that. So um wow, what was I saying? I normally never talk about this, so I think it gives me on a tangent because I go, "Oh my gosh, there's so many
Well,
things here."
so you were
But
investing the network
yeah,
marketing, and then you walked away, but your goal was to make Mommy Millionaire
yeah, I
a
wanted the
million
Mommy
dollar
Millionaire
brand.
to be like the breadwinner type of
Yeah.
situation. Like that was what was paying for our lifestyle. And then we wanted to invest so much that eventually our investments would make us financially free. But we live in
Right.
probably the most expensive place
Yes.
in the
Yes, you
country.
do.
So, and we're still not like our investments, even though we have quite a few, it doesn't like our lifestyle expenses are outrageous. So we're still like actively working on getting that to be completely passive,
Right.
like
Right.
income.
Yeah.
But we still do use a little earned income to pay for our lifestyle expenses at this point. But I know the writing on the wall. Like I know my financial freedom formula. And I know how many more
Mhm.
doors I need in order to get there. So that gets me excited because I'm just like, I'm 36 years old. So I have a
Right.
lot of, I have time. And I also still want to enjoy my life at the same time.
Right.
Like I could probably be completely financially free if I didn't,
Do
live
anything.
where, yeah. And I didn't live where I live, but I love it. So
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
we are, you know. But I think that a lot of people have this thing around money where they think they have to work really hard in order to
Mhm.
make money. And it's such a poverty spirit. It's a stronghold over people's lives because we're called to be multipliers. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
That's what we're called to do. We're actually not called to like make money. Like the Bible doesn't
Right.
even talk about money really,
Right.
like in that sense. The only time it talks about the money is like, are you willing to give it away? And
Mhm.
are you multiplying it? And so it's like, here's the thing. Anytime I get money, I call it like, I am so dissociated from this. I get a money, but I call it a seed. So where am I sowing my seeds? So I know I need to sow my seeds into my health. I know I
Yeah.
need to sow my seeds into my kids. I need to sow my seeds into the church. I need to sow my seeds into my marriage. And I
Right.
need to sow my seeds in to be multipliers. And I believe, you know, every time that we sow the seed, it has to multiply in some way. So even me investing, like I spend so much on my health every
Right.
single week,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm like, that's a multiplier because when I feel good, I make more
Right.
money, you know? And
Right.
so that's like how people need to look at money, is that it is God's first and foremost,
Right.
and you're living under kingdom principles. I don't know if people listening in, are they Christian or
But I would think so. Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, because I can go on a whole tangent about this. But
Hmm.
you know, like we live in America, or some of you guys might live in different countries, but every country has its own laws, right?
Yeah.
There are certain things that you just cannot do, and there are certain things that are great, right? Like if you pay your taxes, then you're not going to go to jail. Okay,
Right.
perfect. But then we have our country law, but then we also have kingdom law. And
Yes.
under that, this is like unspoken laws that if you read the Bible, you understand the way that it works. Okay. And so I've really tried to live under that kingdom blessing,
Hmm.
which is, hey, if I just serve people and I
Yeah.
focus on serving people, giving my gifts every single day, and being a
Yes.
multiplier of that gift that God gave me, then I'm always going to have more than enough, because God's word promises me that I'm going to be abundantly supplied, that I'm going to be blessed coming in and blessed going out. You
Yeah.
know, blessed in the storehouse, blessed in the marketplace. I will be blessed.
I
And
love
even my
that.
mistakes will prosper me, because
Yeah.
God has grace over me. And so those are promises in the Bible.
Yeah.
And I live under that. So I know every day I don't have to go and work hard. I don't have to go and dig ditches
Yeah.
unless God's called me to do that. What
Yeah.
I'm called to do is give. So I ask God
Mhm.
every single day in the morning. I spend time with my CEO and I say, who do you want me to serve today?
Yeah.
Who do you want me to pour into today? And every day it's different. Like God will reveal to me in new ways exactly what I'm supposed to do that day. And I just live in that blessing of knowing I'm always going to be in the
Taken
overflow.
care. Yeah.
Yeah. And clients come from nowhere. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy how people find me, and I'm like, "That was just God." Like, that was just
Yeah.
totally God.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm.
that is the most effortless, beautiful place to be. And,
Yes.
I teach so much of that, but you just said something that I was like, I just, when you find a
Yeah.
roadblock in yourself,
Mhm, mhm.
even
What
when
was
you're the
it?
even when you're the master mindset coach.
Yep.
But what I realized, because I believe that I have such an abundance, I do have such an abundance mindset. I have no issues with, am I worthy? I'm like, I'm a child of God. Like God is inside of me. Like I am worthy. Like I don't
Yes.
have any issues with that. I don't have any issues with feeling like should I make $100 million one day? Of course, why not? Like no hesitation. But I do have this, and it's so hard for me to shake, that like work myself until I'm
Mm,
falling on my face tired. Like
mhm.
that is so hard for me to disconnect. I still feel like, oh, I'm worthy of the $1 million, $10 million, $100 million, but I still tie it to, I'm going to have to work myself into the ground to do it. But am I worthy of
Yeah.
it? Absolutely. Can I work myself into the ground? I'm here for it. I'll outwork you any day. That kind of
Yeah, you
mentality.
wear it as a badge of honor. It's like, "Yay."
Yes.
Yeah.
And I try not to, because intellectually I know that doesn't work well for me, but it's so ingrained in me.
Mhm.
I've
Well,
just been that way for so
it comes
long.
from your childhood, right?
Yeah, for
Like, I
sure.
talk about this in the book because, it's actually step 2 where you're like, "Okay, when did I first start accepting the
Mhm.
standard of working hard?" And I wanna be clear here, like, we're not saying you shouldn't work hard,
Right.
because God says to work with excellence, right?
Right.
But this is what he says, right? To work with excellence.
Yes.
So excellence isn't grinding
Right.
until like we're so stressed out and our nervous system's a wreck and our
Right.
adrenal glands are burnt out, right? That's
Yes.
actually not godly at all. Excellence is working smarter, not harder,
Right.
period.
Right.
Because we actually need to be giving more and more of our gifts to the kingdom. And
Mhm.
so when we work smarter and we're strategic about our time and our resources in that way,
Yeah.
we actually have more space to solve real world problems that God wants us to solve.
Yes, 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 yes. Amen, amen, amen. Okay, so you've touched on how many steps are there in the book? I'm dying
So
to get my hands on this, by the way. I
I
was like
know.
trying to download Audible last night. I was like, darn it, it's not available yet.
5 more days, 5 more days. So it's take 7 is the coaching method
Yep.
that we go through in there. And so it's really just, I reverse engineer the process of what was a theme that I always took all of my clients through.
Mhm.
And that's how we came up with like the take 7 method.
Yeah.
So what's really powerful is that you could do this every single day.
Ugh,
You can do it when you're stuck. You can do it when life is going great and you just want to work maybe on one area of your life.
yeah,
But I wanted to, like, I'm all about legacy. I know you are too, like
yeah,
leaving a legacy. And this book is really my legacy because I want people to have this tool so
yes,
that way they can self coach themselves.
yes,
The first coach I hired, he was like $2,500 a month. Most people aren't going to invest that, right? Well,
right,
they don't even have it, right? So I'm like,
right,
okay, buy a $30 book and you
right.
have tools that you can move through. Now, should you still hire a coach? Absolutely. When you're at that point where you're ready to like make mountains move,
Yes,
absolutely. I think you still should because you actually have a real life,
yeah,
coach that's
yeah.
helping you through to that next level.
Yeah. And that's just a game changer. I think that's one of if I had to look back at my own journey, I was investing really before I was able to invest. I was
Yes.
stretching that and really sacrificing things that I wanted in order to be able to invest that because that's really truly one of the biggest multipliers that you can do. So can we just touch on this a little bit before we wrap? Because I want to talk about the book, but I want to talk about both of your programs, like Mommy Millionaire. What does that look like? Who is it for? How is it structured? And then is it the crafted entrepreneur? What is it called?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about the differences there and kind of if people are listening and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm dying to work with her. What do these programs and opportunities look like?
Yeah. So really my podcast is called Crafted Entrepreneur, and we talk about all things when it comes to real estate, investing, finances. We talk about teamwork and collaboration. It's a really fun podcast. And if you're in the entrepreneur world, like you should absolutely just listen. If you already love Moira, I just said
Yeah.
it wrong.
No, you
Moira.
just said it right. You got it, girl.
Okay. So you have like I have a thing about messing up people's names. I do not like it. Like Moira. Okay.
You got it.
Moira. I love it. Okay. If you listen to Moira's show, you already are somebody who loves to invest in themselves. You're putting good stuff in all the time. So just listen
Mhm.
into Crafted Entrepreneur. You're going to love it too. But Mommy Millionaire, we have different coaching programs that are completely focused on marketing. So I have a full blown in house marketing team
Wow.
that teaches people how to scale. So I have different coaches in there that will come in and teach them about ads and PR and all this kind of stuff. Will help you really scale your business, but you need to have at least like 500 people on an email list or at least 500 followers already, I would say, on social media
Right.
for us to really help you move the needle in that business. And we do that like via group coaching.
Yeah.
So you get
Gotcha.
group coaching and then you get access to every single course I've ever made. So when we're
Wow.
talking about money mindset, sales, social
Yeah.
media, all the stuff, you get everything. Like it's really incredible. Then when I created crafted deals, I have a software that helps people find off-market properties, and we use artificial intelligence to help them find good deals in the neighborhoods they want to invest in. And then
Wow.
we teach you how to either fix and flip, buy and hold, or wholesale. So, and I have different real estate coaches that work inside of that program with me as well. And that's on a group coaching basis as well. And then I also have one-on-one coaching with me
Mhm.
where that's like my favorite thing to do
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
really go deep with somebody in every area of their lives and help them scale. I usually will take people from maybe they're stuck at like $30,000 a month and we're trying to get them like my client who's worked with me for 16 months just had her first $500,000 a month last month. Um,
What is her business?
her
That's
business is
bananas. That's
yeah,
so
so
awesome.
she's an online entrepreneur, but she has several different programs. And
Yeah.
that's really what I can do is I can look at you and I'll be like, okay, you're selling this. How do we scale it?
Right.
And how do we monetize more of your expertise with
Right.
different programs? Because you'll see, I mean, I just have so many different programs, but I bring people into the
Mhm.
little units with me and I don't do it all by myself.
Right.
My biggest program I ever did was I taught people how to be coaches.
Yeah.
And then at one point I had 17 coaches working for me. Wow. And anyway, we might be getting back into that, but I had to take a break. I ended up getting like breast implant illness in 2020. And so I went through like a whole healing journey where I was like, I just need to heal myself. And I was so thankful because I was like, that was also the year I walked away from my network marketing company. But
that was literally 4 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot has happened in 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like so stoked for you. I'm like, God is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
That was when I was just like, I'm done. And like, I love being in that spot where it's like, I have nothing against network marketing. I love it because it changed my life, but it's very powerful to not be handcuffed to something where you could just be like, I'm done. Bye.
Yeah.
Now my husband wasn't happy with me because it was a lot of money, but I was like, bye. Like, I don't need
it probably just opened up not only time-wise, but energy-wise, like so much space.
Well, and I hadn't been working that business for like 3 years prior to that. So it was really like, it was more of just an energy thing. Like like I put on the biggest event ever, the biggest Multi-Millionaire event ever. It was so amazing. I was on a high and I got a text message from the CEO that was like horrible, like so mean. And I was like, like
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
I get it.
But now I feel like this version of Cayla would have just been like laughing all the way to the bank and just been like, you could text me all day long and say mean things, but I'm still going to cash the check.
Right. Oh my gosh. That's tough though. Wow.
You live and you learn.
You also may have not gone like on to have the fast success that you had because you really had that like, oh crap moment of like, what did I just do? Now I gotta run. Now I gotta scale. Now I gotta make this work. And so there's such a gift in that too, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
I love it so much. Oh my gosh. Well, tell me where we can get your book. I mean, so right now we'll just be totally transparent with you guys, which we usually don't do. It's February 28th. We're going to drop this episode quick because the book is launching literally on my daughter's birthday. It's March 5th.
Oh, that's amazing. March 5th.
Yeah, that's my daughter's birthday.
Aww,
so
I'm
guessing I do too. Unless we launch it Monday and it's like literally the next day, but whatever, it's going to be really close right around. So they'll be able to get their hands on this book ASAP. Is the Audible version, are you doing that?
The Audible version is available for purchase already.
Is it you?
Yeah, it's me.
Oh, I love that. How fun was that?
Yeah, it was really, that was a really like surreal day because you want something so bad and then you're reading the whole book out loud and you're like, is this really happening? Like these are my words. Oh my gosh, people are gonna like, lives are gonna change.
Oh, I have goosebumps. That's so awesome.
It was pretty fun. And I know, cause I'm like, I love an Audible and I hate it when I go to buy an Audible and then it's not the person's voice. I'm like, oh,
right. Because it connects you on a completely different level.
Yeah. That was like, I had to do my own.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh my gosh. I love that. And I got to ask, like, how was the whole book writing, publishing, like launching process? Is it as hard as everybody says?
Yes, it is. I'm not going to lie to you. No, it was, but it's worth it. Like if you want to write a book and you specifically want to publish a book and then sell a lot of copies like this, I'll tell you this book has been the hardest thing I've ever sold. And I've closed 6-figure deals. Okay.
Right.
And I'm like, why is it so hard to get people to buy a $30 book?
Right.
Because people just think that they're like, oh, I listened to the podcast and I already know. And it's like, no, like this book has so much good stuff in it. Like you want it. Yeah. Because like for me, I have a
guide.
It's like a reference guide.
Yeah.
Totally. And also it's like having a mentor, right? Like it's like you get me as a mentor.
Well, and a book is literally the best of Cayla Craft, word for word, synchronized, like succinctly, all in one place. Like I get that it is like, it's got to be the best of the best of the best. You're not just like doing your, B-list stuff. You know what I mean? So
Thank you.
Get the book, people. Get the book.
This was so good. Yes, I love the way you put it. But it was absolutely worth it. And I would highly recommend it for anybody because I think everybody has like a book inside of them, you know, at least one. And so it was a really good healing process for me writing the book because I had to go through a lot of like stories. When this is done, like this is crazy that it's out and I can't change it. So like it is in.
That is crazy.
it's so different than on social media. Like you can delete it anytime. Like if you
Right.
happen to change your mind about something, you could just
Yeah.
go delete that post. But this, it's like, no, it's going to be on people's coffee tables. Like this is so finite. And I had to work through all of like the
Yeah.
perfectionism stuff
Oh,
that was
yeah.
coming up for me and just give it to God and be like, okay, God, like
Yeah.
every person that picks up this book, I just pray blessings over them. I
Yes.
pray favor over them and may they be kind to me. That's what I'm my prayer.
Well, it is going to change so many lives. I know that. I cannot wait till it's sitting on my coffee table next
Me
week.
too.
Ah, Kayla, this has been amazing. Just amazing. I feel like I'm just like chatting with an old friend or a new friend,
Oh,
one or the
yeah.
other.
Me too.
So yeah,
So good.
thank you so much for your time. We're going to link everything in the show notes. We'll link your podcast, we'll link all your courses, all the opt-ins to your group coaching and all of that. We'll obviously link the book. Everybody go follow her on social media. I mean, it is so inspiring. Like it's rare that I get caught in the rabbit hole. Like I'm a create and get off of social media girl. And so when I find somebody and it's 30 minutes later and I'm still on their page, I'm like, okay, I gotta find out who this
Oh
person
my
is. I gotta
gosh.
connect.
I
So
love that.
thank you for just doing what you're doing in the world. Thank you for like being such a vessel of God's work through you. I just honor that so much and I love it so much. And I'm excited to see what your future holds. It's gonna be
Oh,
awesome.
thank you so much. You're so sweet. And I love that we have the same sense of style too. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
so
gonna
do
go
I.
buy that right now that you have one.
I love it too. Awesome, you guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys make sure you tag Kayla in the show, tag me, share it with all of your followers, and we will see you next week.